Hello again, and welcome to another episode of No Prize Podcast. I am the Professor Bud Young. With me, as always, from across the pond is Johnny the Machine Hughes. How are you, Johnny?
Hola, amigos. I am fine. How are you?
Right, and on our invisible camcorder, I imagine is he who shall not be named or seen, Lucas. How are you, Lucas?
Hello, everybody, and congratulations that have survived the first phase of the apocalypse.
All right, yeah, on to round two. So this is probably our fourth podcast in a row with no comic books, and hopefully our last. Maybe we have one more before books actually start dropping again. But we do have news coming out of Marvel that starting on, what is it, May 27th? That's Memorial Day week.
27th, a
Yeah.
whopping great 5 books will ship. Don't
Right.
rush to those comic book shops.
So that's maybe one of the first things I want to talk about is, so why are we getting trickles of books, like just 5, right, to begin with, when I'm sure they have like a glut of books that were ready to come out before Diamond shut down, right?
Right.
So
I think there's a common sense answer to that.
okay, let's hear it.
I think they don't want to put the whole catalogue out that's due out because us us comic-starved geeks will be there pounding on the door saying, give me my 42 issues of comics that I haven't picked up, please. And then the idea is, even in a couple of weeks, we'll still have social distancing rules and we still have to play sensibly. So by only having a trickle, it means you can control the ebb and flow of your customers coming in. I would have thought.
Well, I think it's extreme though. I mean, because we're going from and I've complained about this before about Marvel having like 25, 27 books a week down to 5, which is like kind of extreme. And
But for me, it's perfect.
Yeah,
for me, it's perfect because I've said this before. They need to cut down all these titles to just 4 or 5 a week. This is a perfect size, 4 or 5 a week. That's all I'm gonna. That's all. If I'm just a regular guy that has to pay for all these books, that's all I'm gonna really pay for anyway.
Yeah.
Unless
Well,
you're a big baller.
Come on, look at the books that are coming out though. You've got Amazing Spider-Man 43. Are we in consensus that the Amazing Spider-Man book is lying to us? It's not that amazing, right?
I still like Spider-Man, but hey,
I used to like Spider-Man. Then you've got Avengers. Although news from Avengers is that Aaron's is leaving and Al Ewing's coming in.
Really?
I saw on the old Tinterweb. You've got Marauders, number 10, because you can't have a week without an X book. Star Wars Dr. Aphra, which is so late it has no impact on Star Wars Day. No problem with that one. And then Venom 25. Now, I don't know about you, but those aren't the Marvel heavy hitters that you would expect. And then the following week, June the 3rd, it's trade paperback, trade paperback, trade paperback, trade paperback, trade paperback. And some of these are recent trade backs like The Amazing Mary Jane Volume 1. I mean, that's just finished.
Yeah, it did. Just finished a few weeks ago, right before the shut-in.
Maybe we should have shut down before that book finished, I'm saying.
Yeah. So the thing is, another thing that you got to consider is they had to do something because DC basically did them dirty.
Can't say that.
Yeah, DC did them dirty, and I love it. I love their thinking behind it. So it wasn't just a Marvel decision; it was a Diamond decision behind their whole shutdown and not to distribute comic books. So what DC decided says, okay, so since Diamond's not distributing it, and their whole thing with Walmart is shutting down, for those that didn't know, they went to these 2 other entities to distribute their books. I forget the names of them, but those are the ones that have been receiving within the last couple of weeks. And I think it turned out that it was like actually like Midtown Comics behind it, and I forget the name of the other one. Oh, DCBS. That was the name of the other ones. So Marvel, in the meantime, they've got to do something. They can't just let freaking DC freaking take over. They got to, even though they're shelling out bad books, they got to shell out something, just to keep themselves in everybody's minds. Now, especially another thing that you got to consider is that when it comes to like first appearances and books that people were actually excited about, DC has been killing them within the last month, especially with all that speculation around that punchline character. They have been getting killed right now. People aren't really interested or that excited about the movie, their movies, because Black Widow is not coming out till what, like November of next year or something crazy like that. So there's not
Mhm.
really that much to get excited about from the Marvel side, unless you talk about like the Sony stuff or like Spider-Man and Venom and all that other stuff. So just saying.
Hmm. Valid points. Valid points. I mean, I don't think I kind of agree to an extent with Lucas. I think Marvel um, historically pump out a glut of material, and that's been their modus operandi since God knows when,
Right.
right? So, and some of those books are absolute stinkers. Well, and yeah, some of them are absolute stinkers. Not every book is the Immortal Hulk, you know. Not every book is whatever your favorite book is right now. Personally, I think Black Cat's really up there because it's just a daft fun book, and I want to be entertained, and that's why I buy a comic book for. Um, so you got to think to yourself, can Marvel sustain getting people back in comic book shops at a safe pace with their glut mentality? And the answer is no, they can't. I would have liked to have seen better books come out, of course. But for right now, I'm thinking, getting people into comic book shops, getting them, we don't want to see loads of people just rock up and on a Wednesday and start picking up books again, do we?
So now I have a question about um, now is this possibly Marvel maybe dipping their toe in the water to test the temperature of the viability of comic book stores coming out of COVID versus straight to digital?
Well, did you see earlier today that there's been a misreport saying that Marvel are cutting out their digital supply?
I did read that. That's a false report.
Well, it is and it isn't. What they're saying is, let me just see if I can dig it up again because I did see it earlier.
You're
It's
still
the
going to be
same,
able to get digital
yeah,
copies on Marvel, like on Marvel Unlimited. You have to just buy
yeah,
them directly from them, right?
yeah. They're doing something about the comicsology element. It's the comicsology elements that's changing. You'll still be able to get digital comics. Let
Right.
me you just make some fun stuff up while I look through this tweet and see if I can find it again.
Yeah, no problem. It's to
Right.
for me, I do kind of think with because DC was gonna start putting out digital stuff weeks ago, and because of the outcry from the comic book stores, decided against it, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but I think honestly, and I love the comic book stores and everything, but do we have to find a way for these companies to put material out even when we can't get to the stores to get them, right? Um,
Right.
Mm.
even if maybe you're buying directly from a comic book, let's say Midtown Comics in Manhattan
Mm-hmm.
they have a website, right? What if you could
Yes.
download comics digitally from them? Midtown Comics gets a cut, and that's I know it's so convoluted, right? Because why would you create the middleman, right? If you can get them directly from Marvel. But
I
Right.
oh, Lucas, do you want to take this one first?
Uh, what I was going to say, I won't necessarily answer that question, but um, Midtown, they're the owner of UCS Distributors. They try to hide it. I think I'm not sure they try to hide it, but it was found out that they're the ones behind UCS, and I believe Lunar, they're the ones behind DCBS. So Diamond was going straight to going to UCS, and then Midtown has a quite a strong freaking shipping shipping thing going on, which is where I usually go if I don't feel like going to the comic book shops anyway. Um, so, what did you have to say?
I'm old school. I like having a comic book. I like holding a comic book. I like the experience of turning the page. I think, fair enough, digital comics, yeah, I get them because I review the damn things on Comic Crusaders, right? That's what we do. So I get the only way I can do that is by having them electronically. Now, I've just looked through a really good independent book this morning. The review's going to be up later this week for on Comics Crusaders. It's called Firepower, written by Robert Kirkman, and the book works really well. It's a really good book, but you get double pages. Now, unfortunately, I'm using a laptop, and even though I'm using my laptop, the double spread doesn't work. It's on two separate pages. It's like there's page one, scroll down, and there's page two. You can't see the join anymore. So that all that great work that's gone into play of just the art falls aside. And then you throw in the added mix of getting word balloons in. So you then have to scroll. So there's your page, word balloon. Scroll down the page to see the next one. Scroll back up to see the next one. Scroll back. No, it doesn't work. Right? Now, if you've got a comic book and you open up the page and it's a double spread, wow, you can see the whole thing. You get the immensity of the scene. You get the dialogue. You get it all in one shot. It doesn't make it hard to read. The only good thing about digital comics is space saving, right? Because otherwise, where'd you put, 1,300 different comic books? I'm losing the bedroom. That's what I'm saying. But but that's the only good thing. If I'm buying a comic book, I want to sit and I want to enjoy and read the comic book. It's probably the sole reason why I haven't gone through that Marvel Unlimited thing. Yeah, because fair enough. $10 is nothing for all the history you get. I'd rather spend £10 and get 5 back issues.
Well, that's the thing is a lot. Like I like the Marvel Unlimited site because it prevents me from having to dig through my attic for my books if I want to reread them or go through them. Or in some cases, there's a lot of issues that I don't have. A lot of the early Silver Age stuff, Tales of Suspense, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. I don't have any of that stuff. Who does?
I managed to catch myself before I said that. Yeah.
But my ambitious reading through all the old Marvels. It's a huge undertaking. But my time is coming up because we have new books coming out. But if it's only 5, I'm still gonna have time.
But the thing, it's Stan Lee has that famous quote about comic books and boobs, doesn't he? Have you seen this quote?
Why don't you tell us?
So the quote with Stan Lee, and I might get this wrong, so apologies, but it kind of goes something along the lines of this: the metaphor is digital comics over paper copies of comic books. And Stan Lee has famously said, hey, I like looking at pictures of boobs as much as the next guy, but I'd much rather hold one in my hand. So, hey, if it's good enough for Stan Lee, it's good enough for me. Give me my boobs. I mean, comic books.
I tend to agree with you then on that metaphor.
Hey, it's not mine. It's Stan Lee's. Go Google it. He said it allegedly.
Yeah, not all comic books are equal, but they all have a story. Anyway.
Yeah.
Wonder if he said that to his visiting nurse.
Oh.
I bet if he did, I bet Jack Kirby said that he said it first. Ooh.
All right. So
that took a turn.
That's very, very, very nice. All right, so I mean, we're getting books. We're kind of getting back in the swing. So I mean, DC is jumping in the pool, but first, right? DC's already started releasing some new material, correct, Johnny?
Right.
I believe so, but I think it's very small amounts the first book that's coming out is Batman '89 third printing, which is the third printing of the first appearance of Punchline. So if you haven't managed to get it yet, and you haven't been, you're waiting not to get caught out by speculators who are selling the book and flipping it for stupid money. I sold one for stupid money.
So, okay, well, Lucas, I have a question for you because this is kind of like rattling around in my head with the books coming back, what I'm thinking is that there's probably going to be a print shortage, right? So they're probably printing not as many copies of these books coming right out of this because not a lot of people are going to be out buying physical copies of comics initially. What do you think speculators are going to be like with these first copies coming out of the coronavirus? Do you think that there's going to be some kind of speculator market for this is the first issue of DC Comics that came out post lockdown?
No, not at all. And I'll tell you why. It's because when it comes to ordering all this stuff, speculators, we're on that gravy train along with the stores. So the stores, they order that stuff like 2 to 3 months in advance, right? And smart speculators will go to their comic book shops, and while they're putting in those orders, say, "Hey, can you get me this?" So even prior to this pandemic going on, the speculators already had their orders in. I don't think anybody was really waiting for the comic book shop to come out and say, "Hey, I need this." They were already on it. Now, a month from now, that's when any shortages might happen, because we don't know what to do. We don't know whether we're going to be able to go to our comic book shops and get the stuff. We don't know who's going to be able to mail stuff out. We don't know. However, stuff like that punchline story, which has already sold out mostly everywhere, and it's not 89. 89 was already out. Those were cameo appearances. What we're waiting on is that 92. 92 is supposed to come out in June, at the beginning of June, I believe, and that's what everybody's waiting on. Unfortunately, because there hasn't been any comic books, a lot of people were jumping on those cameos, and those are already reaching like $70 to $100. Um, but in the meantime, there's a lot of first appearances that people were missing out on, that they should be picking up, like that that's not the Doc Strange, the Strange Academy, excuse me, was had a chock full of first appearances. They missed out on that, and it's because people like us, like, we're writing all the stuff, but because we're not getting books, we're not putting out as much material. So people don't know who to trust, they don't know who to read, and all that other stuff. So it's been a wild couple of weeks or a few weeks in the world of speculation.
Okay. So I have one more question about the industry before we probably get into who could beat who.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. So what are the odds of people like when I think about my comic collecting life, right? And I've been collecting comics, like I'm sure Johnny, Lucas, you guys, for over 30 years, 35 years, pretty much in my entire teen and adult life. And I liken my weekly fix of comic books to almost like a drug addiction, right? Like I need that every Wednesday to go to the store or need to get my batch of books for me to read this week. And that for now 2 months, for the first time since I was like 12 years old, I haven't read anything new in almost 2 months. And I know how that makes me feel. Like I've been going back and reading Silver Age stuff and like what we talked about last time, Johnny, rediscovering a lot of the old stories. I don't know if I would miss the new stuff when it starts coming out. And I'm wondering about normal, like regular fans. Are they is this an opportunity for them to walk away from the hobby because they haven't had 2 books in 2 months? And they're not like, I mean, we're hardcore, right? We're lifers. So once these books start coming out, we're right back in with our addiction. But for the most part, I think this is an opportunity for a lot of people to kind of walk away,
Yeah.
and like I don't miss it anymore. I have other things to spend my money on.
Yep.
And what now, and I'm sure the industry, the Marvel, DC, they're all running scared for this too, right? Because what you need, with the Marvel movies, you need to have 2 or 3 movies a year. People are gonna forget you, right?
Yep.
So what, if any, do you think impact? I know this is gonna have a huge impact on the comic book industry, um, but how big of an impact do you think that this is gonna be going forward? I mean, if you look from last year's sales to this year's sales to next year's sales.
I think that's a really good question. I think this is, I suppose, where Marvel and DC have been a little bit more responsible than we actually give them credit for. If DC and Marvel and Image and the big guys, if they just turned around on the 27th of May and said, boom, there you go, there's all your missed books from the last 8 weeks, people would not be able to afford to be able to keep up.
No, of course,
and that would force jumping off points.
And
so taking that smaller approach means that we're getting people into comic book shops still.
Well, and I would even say, even if they went back to their regular release schedule and had 25 books come out and then 22 the next week, I would say that people still wouldn't be able to afford them because nobody's been making money for 2 months.
Wow, that's an individual situation, isn't it? Because
I guess you're right.
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
I mean, because you guys are lucky in one way, because your comic book shops are open. My comic book shops aren't. I can't go anywhere and get a new comic book for love nor money right now. I can't even buy an old one. I'm using eBay for Christ's sakes. But by the same token, the books are coming out on the 27th. By the 27th, we're still in lockdown probably by that point. So our shops still won't be open. So those comics are going to sit in a warehouse in the UK till the shops are ready to open before we can get there. So you guys will be talking about, hey, look at me, I've got the new Amazing Spider-Man. And I'll be like, I ain't got it, I can't go anywhere. But I suppose it's hard when it comes to comics because it's such a worldwide thing. Every country buys comic books. And everybody's in their own bill. So, for example, I'm still working full-time. My wife's still working full-time. We're working from home. There are people who are on furlough who are getting a percentage of the wage. If that continues and new comic books come out, you're on restricted wages. You've got to think to yourself, which is more important? I think the companies are showing a level of maturity that I wouldn't have necessarily given them credit for until you pose that question. So I think it's a really good. It's a good point that they're not sort of flooding the market straight away to stop people jumping off. Lucas, what do you think?
Well, once again, like this is what I wanted them to do in the first place. I love this strategy. When you try and get a new young person freaking hooked on drugs, you don't give them a full kilo. You just freaking give them, you give them secondhand smoke, or you freaking just give them a toke, and then eventually, they'll come back because they just need that freaking itch. So this 4 to 5, small run of Ant-Man, and I forget the other titles, and then what's another thing is I don't know if the variants are coming out. I don't think any of these really had like A and B variants. So that's another good thing. So I'm not expecting any $50 to $100 freaking covers to be coming out. That's another great thing. This is bypass time that Marvel did something like this. Take a week or two to give everybody a breather, and then once we really get back into it, then they can see what's going on. And it's just high time, and I can't agree with you more than I already do.
It's kind of like turning the faucet on just to see if you get the water pressure, right?
Yeah.
Just turn it on a little bit. Yeah, just turn it on a little
Yeah.
bit before we let it go, before we make sure the pipes don't break again.
You don't jump in the pool, you just dip your toe, right?
There you go.
It makes no difference. Your suit's still gonna get wet, man.
Right. But you gave me another question, Johnny, when you said that before about, America's going to be open for business, so to speak, before England. Does that, and that probably lends to my argument about driving people to digital sales, right? So if we're out there selling paper copies of everything and we're releasing comics, and you can't get them in Europe. So
we're talking about Are you going to ask me how we're going to do it?
Well, I'm just gonna say it's gonna drive more people digital.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because we're not just shop focused. There's a comic book shop in Leeds, which is about 2 hours away from me. It's called OK Comics. So it's kind of like a little place. You go in, you sort of like can't hold your arms out like that because it's so small downstairs, like the ground floor. Upstairs on the first floor, they've got like a reading section and they've got back issues like 25p. So like, what's that? 25 cents, 17 cents, some 35 cents, some stuff like that. Anyhow, so you go through it. What OK managed to do is they've got a fantastic mail order service. There's a place in London called a place in space. They have an eBay shop, so you can sign up. They send you your previews, or you flick through the online thing. Right, I want Captain Marvel. I want Star. I want Avengers. I want Thor. I want the Hulk. Put on an order, and every month when your books come in, we'll send them to you.
Huh.
Simple as, yeah. Now we live in a world where we don't have to physically go to a stone and brick edifice that sells comic books. I could have a delivery of new comic books from Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse sitting downstairs and put them on the internet and then ship out the actual copies. Yeah, so you can still get them. You can still get the paper copies if you wanted to. And because they don't have the facility, they don't have to pay for the facilities of a shop. I don't have to charge you a $4.99 book. Over here is something like $4.50. So I wouldn't charge you $4.50 for that because I probably only have to charge you like £4. So you're making a saving. I'm still covering my profit margin. I have more profit because I don't have to pay for staff. I don't have to pay for a great big shop. I don't have to pay for rates and all that sort of stuff. So there's ways around it. You can have online shops. It's not digital or bust. There are ways around that.
You know, and that is a great point when you're talking about some of the pricing, man. Because when you're talking about all this digital stuff and I can get it, you know, same day, next day, or whatever. Why, if it's on digital and it's in a database server somewhere, how about you take off the price of $1 or something, man? Why am I paying full price for a comic book that I don't digitally have in my hand? Just saying.
Do you know what I don't like about it, about the digital thing? This has happened to me a couple of times. I had a Comixology account, and I was using it on a mobile, on a cell phone. See how I changed it up there for you Americans, yeah?
I noticed you spoke American there for a second.
Yeah. Woohoo! Check me out. Go Finns. So I upgraded. So fair enough. So I got a new phone, downloaded all the apps and everything. I still had my old one. Boof. Excellent. Go to Comixology, open up my things. No comics. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? I've paid for comics. They're on my comics. Oh well, because what's happened is because you've changed phone. You don't do that. I'm sorry.
What?
I was like, you kidding? No. Even the free ones. No, not there anymore. You have to rebuy them. I'm like, hold on a second. So I have to pay a price to buy a comic book, and now because I've changed, I've kept the same account. It's not there because it's a new device. So therefore, this isn't going to work for me.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's probably because that whole Netflix thing where people share their accounts and they got their mothers and their daughters and their cousins' ex-boyfriends still on the account, so they're trying to stop that. But
if I've paid for it, I get it. But if I paid to download something, I'd expect that I download it, so therefore I own it. It's like, no, you don't. And you're like, well, that just sucks. So basically, what I'm doing is renting comic books. Really? Renting a comic book?
yeah,
No thanks. I don't even rent
No.
DVDs anymore. People still do that?
Wow.
yes. There's those little there's those little red box machines, and I am still shocked every time I see a line of people to go see that to rent something from that little red box thing.
Oh, I used to love going to the video store though. I used to love this will say more about me than I want to admit. But I used to love the really bad softcore porn titles that you'd get. You know what I mean? Like who?
I don't know what you mean at all.
No, really? Oh, come on, man. So, for example, I can't believe I'm going to say this. So you go into the video store, you look all around, and then there'd be like this area for adult entertainment, and there'd be like play on words. So, for example, instead of Tomb Raider, you would get Womb Raider. And you'd be like, I just love the titles. It used to make me laugh. Like Buffy the Vampire Layer.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man. It used to crack me up every time. Pardon the fun. To look at these titles, just to make it just so clever. Some of them so clever. Never mind. Bring back the 80s.
I'm surprised you didn't go Marvel and say like the Sex Men or something like that.
Nah.
No.
There's too many sex jokes with Marvel. I mean, hey, Spider-Man's a position, so I'm not saying no. Okay, carry on.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll actually talk some superhero stuff. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Undercover Capes Podcast Network proudly presents to you its cult classic movie review podcast, The Cinema Crusaders, where we talk about films from the past that become relevant today, with your hosts, David Nemesis Howard, Lance Lucero, and the random dude Josh. Cinema Crusaders brings those movies that we all know and love, or all know and hate. Either way, it's a good time nonetheless. Check out Cinema Crusaders, only on the Undercover Capes Podcast Network.
And we're back.
Hey!
So what do we have on tap? We have some shenanigans going on there, Johnny. What kind of fun stuff did we have going on?
We have a speculation game. Have we not, Lucas?
Yes, we do.
I think we should have a bash at the speculation game.
Okay.
Because to be fair, this is probably Bud's and mine most weakest area. So we're going to look like complete idiots when we do this. So let's go for this.
All right. So what are we doing? Doing a speculation game first, or?
Yes, please. Let's do that first.
All right.
God.
All right. So so once again, I'm only picking stuff that's had news within the last couple of weeks, just to narrow it down. Because once again, I've had 200 pieces of different speculation come out. So the first one, there's actually a story behind it. So you know how I'm a crack addict. You know, I need my hard copies, right? So I remembered that Walmart sells comic books, DC Comics. So I went there. I went to my local Walmart, and I saw the ones that they had. Turns out that the DC Comics that they had there, I already have. But right next to the DC Comics, lo and behold, I saw some Marvel comics. And I was like, wait, what? Since when did Walmart start selling Marvel comics, right? Because Walmart was supposed to have a exclusive with DC. I was like, okay. And I looked at it, and it's a 3-pack. And not only is it, like older, like comics from like 10 and 20 years ago, it's a rarely kind of recent comics that's out there. So you had like Thor #1, and then there's a Spider number 1 pack. But lo and behold, there's also a Strange Academy #1 pack, right? Which is really recent. So, and these packs are going for like $8. So I thought that's kind of weird, right? So here's a question for you guys. Which is worth more? That one, these 3-pack of comics from Walmart, or Moon Girl Dinosaur #1, which is supposed to be having a TV series coming out pretty soon? Which one is worth more?
Well, I imagine. So, are you getting 3 books at the Walmart?
You're getting 3 packs for $8.
do we know what the other two books are? Because I remember when you go buy the 3-pack, right, and you get the cellophane, you usually get one book and then another book on the side, and you have no idea what that middle book is, and you had to kind of open the plastic up and kind of look.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember from years and years ago when they used to do this, because I remember back in the 80s, I remember getting of the first part of the Iron Man Demon in a Bottle saga in a 3-pack with a Star Wars comic and a Spider-Man comic and of course it was like for $1, right? Like
Yeah.
got those three, but I remember getting those, and this was before this. So what was that, like 1982, 1983? And so now when you look at those, I mean, they haven't changed the packaging at all. You still have them 3-pack, and you still gotta search through it. But Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur though, I don't know, because that book was something that was selling like 9,000 copies at its best, at its highest. And I can't imagine there's a huge demand for it yet, even with speculation on a TV show. I'm gonna say the 3-pack is more expensive.
How about go ahead?
Well, very similar to you. I remember the 3-pack comics. This is how we got back in the UK, back in the late 70s, early 80s. It's how we got our Marvel fix. DC seemed to, every time you go to the newsagents, there was always DC Comics on the newsstand. My first pack I bought was Marvel Team Up 82. It had the Avengers, the Taskmaster one. The first appearance of Taskmaster. And the middle comic was Shogun Warriors.
They snuck you as Shogun Warriors in
there. Yeah, they suckered me. But hey, I don't care. That Marvel Team Up book is gorgeous. So anyway, I'm gonna go with. You're going with the 3 books. Is that what you're going with?
I am. Yeah.
I'll go Moon Girl because she's kind of been a little bit mainstay. She's been in the Fantastic Four, a couple of issues. She's had like a decent little run of herself. She's got her own fan base. She's in that Future Fight game. I think there's I'll go with Moon Girl.
Okay. So here's the rub. So Moon Girl #1, that first appearance, it had some variety of different covers. It had some different variants, right? That Von Eaton. So hold on. That variant was about, so that variant is going for like between $300 to $600, depending on whether it's a 9891. The regular, however, is kind of weird because it's going for like $8 to $10. I don't know what happened with it. I don't know why it dropped out the sky like that, but you can get it pretty cheap unless you've got a CGC. Here's the weird deal. That Walmart thing, the one that's originally $8, it is now all the way up to $40, right? So think about that Strange Academy. That Strange Academy #1 pack, it's got 7 to 8 different new characters. And when I went to Walmart, there was only two copies in the store, right? So you figure out like how many stores of Walmart there are in the United States. There's about 4,000. So that means that there's 8,000 copies of this thing. I mean, there may be more, but there's 8,000 copies currently in circulation. You mentioned before that the Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur probably had between 8 to 9,000 or 9,000 to 10,000 copies out there. So that there's more copies of that Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur, that 1/1 issue, than there are of the Strange Academy. So that Strange Academy 3-pack, there's actually a lot less, and it's creeping up. And it's crazy because when you look at it, all the new characters, they're all on that cover. So I'm just saying, for all the listeners, if you're going to your local Walmart, just go ahead and stop by and check it out. You might want to pick that up.
That led me to a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry that this keeps kind of coming back to the industry and what's happening later on. There are a lot of books that were slated for 4 or 5 issue miniseries, like and I'm gonna because I follow Matthew Rosenberg on Twitter, and he's the writer of Hawkeye Freefall, And Hawkeye Freefall had 4 issues come out, and the 5th issue is now only being released digitally.
Same with Star.
Ooh.
So that's my question, right? Is that going to make the paper copies go up in price? Because then they're not even going to finish the series on paper.
Those the last issues of a series, there's no rush to get those. It's always the first appearances. So eventually, people will say, "Oh, well, this is the last issue of a series." Then they'll eventually get it, but there's no rush unless something actually happens in it.
And I haven't heard any news from Strange Academy, so I don't even know if the rest of that series is even going to see print, right?
The whole
Right? That's true.
They might
That's
release
true.
it digitally, and you might have some of the only copies of that book that ever existed.
Right. That's true.
So
Interesting
that's
point.
that's kind of what led my question. So
it's a small press. It's a small press gimmick. What happens with small press is that they'll run a couple of issues, and then what'll happen is the money will dry up. So they can't afford to do the printing run anymore. So then they'll switch to digital for the last bit, and then towards the end there'll be like a digital graphic or a trade paperback that comes out down the line that has all the issues in together. So I imagine if you're buying single floppies, you're not going to get, and you're not buying digital, you're not going to get the end of Hawkeye, you're not going to get the end of Star. But don't worry, because in 2 months' time, when the trade paperback comes out, it'll all be collected in that. That's what I envision will happen.
Those are some interesting points, gents. What if they did cancel the digital copies of Strange Academy? Those hard copies would go through the roof.
yeah,
Interesting. So, and there is a J. Scott Campbell version out there. I think it's like 1/100 that people might want to pay attention to. No, so
I always pay attention to J. Scott Campbell.
All right. What's next on the docket there?
All right, next on the docket is what is worth more, a beat up old copy of one page of the first appearance of Spider-Man, or a full book of the first appearance of Wolverine?
So first appearance of Spider-Man. So you talk about one page.
Beat up, non-gradable, waterlogged, with mold on it.
Just the issue or the whole issue? Amazing Fantasy 14?
No, I don't. Amazing Fantasy 15, one page, not the whole issue, just one page.
Is Spider-Man on the page?
Yes.
And it's worth. And is it worth more than the entire Hulk 181?
Well, the first appearance of Wolverine is Hulk 180.
Oh, okay.
I will go first on this one, and I would probably say Spider-Man.
Okay.
I'll be the contrarian, and I will say the first appearance of Wolverine is worth more than one page of the first appearance of Spider-Man.
Yeah. So it's really weird, right? So like you were saying before, a lot of people are trying to set the fact that, or are saying that Incredible Hulk 181 was the first appearance of Wolverine, but it's not. It's actually Incredible Hulk 180. It's just that 181 has a cooler cover. The 9/8.
Well, 180 he only appears on the last page, right?
Right, but he still spoke, so
Okay.
that's still a first. That's still a first appearance.
I still think it's 181.
Yeah. So that 198 is currently worth $2,000. One of the last sales was $2,000. That beat up, moldy, old page, non-gradable of Amazing Fantasy, one page went for $2,250.
So I won.
Yeah.
Way!
Wow.
Weird.
That is
Spider-Man.
weird. Someone paid for a page, and it was probably a page that was ripped out of a.
Yeah.
Just
not ripped out, but moldy and waterlogged at some point. So weird.
I can't. Wow. Okay. Some people have too much money.
Yep. So this one you guys might have to dig down and go back to your childhoods, because there has been news coming out for these two properties: Transformers #1 and GI Joe American Hero #1.
Wow. Oh, okay. So
Now,
the Marvel issues.
right? Because even though they are currently distributed by or published by IDW, yeah, both are by IDW. The original issues were by Marvel.
Wow.
I
No,
know.
it's good. Go ahead, Johnny. You go first.
No, you go first. I know where
I
I want to go.
Well, I want to go GI Joe because
Oh, that's all right then.
because when I was a kid or when I was collecting, so we GI Joe is one of the better books on the stands. It was one of those. It was almost like a mainstream Marvel book, the way that it was selling. I think it would definitely everybody had the toys. Even though people had Transformers too, I think GI Joe was a better comic with Larry Hama, and some really good stories, some really good. Though I remember a Snake Eyes issue that was in there, but I think the first issue of GI Joe, I remember that being hard to get when I was looking for back issues. I think I saw it a couple of times back in the '80s for big money. So I'm gonna go GI Joe, and I really don't remember the Transformers comic at all, and I was a Transformers fan too. So GI
I'm
Joe.
going. I'm going Transformers because it's got an appearance of a black suited Spider-Man.
The first issue of Transformers?
He's in there. I'm not sure if it's the first issue, but there's a scene where he's driving the Jeep past an army sergeant. He's got like an army hat on. He's wearing his black suit Spider-Man. So I'm going black suit Spider-Man for the win. Oh, in Transformers. There you go. That's my logic.
So it's hard to explain why, but I do know that there are more CGC for Transformers #1, which is at $775. The last sale was last week. GI Joe American Hero #1, and this surprised me that it was so high, is only $375.
More than meets the eye.
So, so, so even though that's what's interesting, right? And I don't think people are tracking that these two properties, the #1 issues, are worth a lot of money. And I tell you why, because it was just maybe like a few months ago that I was at a flea market sale, and there was GI Joe American Hero #1 just sitting in there, and I bought the whole box for like $10.
Hmm.
So it was just sitting there, and it was in perfect condition, which is weird because it wasn't even like bag and boarded, but it was just sitting there. Boom, there it is. So now that after doing the research, I'm gonna have to send that away to CGC to get it racked up. All right. Next one, and I believe this is the last one. Mighty Avengers #13 versus Invisible Iron Man #7. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Well, can you give me a hint
What
on
happens in Mighty Avengers 13?
Mighty Avengers #13, that is the first appearance of Quake. Invisible Iron Man #7, that is the first appearance of Riri Williams, Ironheart.
Toss up as to who cares.
I know what I think.
Go on then, you can go first.
So I think it's the first appearance of Riri Williams because it's a black character, female character, put into a prominent position. She ends up with her own book, which I don't think Quake ever had her own book. I think just the racially diverse nature of the character gives her a leg up as far as collectability goes.
I'll go with Quake just for the sheer audacity of it because she's had her own TV series already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the actress is really hot, so there you go.
See, I was gonna be with you until you said she's hot. She's not that hot now.
Well,
So your points are sound. Hey, she's already had one TV series. They are going to put her in another series on Disney Plus, but
Really?
right, but weirdly, Invincible Iron Man #7 is worth more at $80 versus Mighty Avengers at like between $11 to $12. So, if you guys come across Mighty Avengers #13, you might want to freaking go ahead and get that into your repertoire, because I don't think people are tracking that's what's going to happen with Quick. I think people thought that once the Agents of Shield kind of started winding down, it was done. That was it. Nope. Quick, she's coming back in her own little thing, so you might want to pick that up.
so a tie to each. Mm. Mm.
Oh,
Okay, well here's one more, and I'm not going to give you. And this is not a which is worth more. This is a why. Strange Tales #138. That's gotten hot within the last week. Can you tell me why?
Strange Tales #138.
Yeah, I know. Random book.
WandaVision.
Any other guesses?
It's has to do something with Doctor Strange. Is it the first appearance of the? I don't know if it's the first appearance of Doctor Strange. I think that's too late. But 138 might be the first appearance of someone. The 138.
Oh no!
Is it
Well
Clea?
done.
Is it the first appearance of Clea?
No.
Or Dormammu? Dormammu?
Do you want to just keep guessing? However,
Well, they
Okay,
appeared
Paul.
in the first issue. They appeared in the same issue together.
keep swinging.
Or I don't know. I don't know. Go ahead. Tell us about that.
All right. So Strange Tales #138. This character appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy. This person
Eon.
was right. So right. So well, it was Peter. It was Peter Quill's mother, right? And apparently, what they're trying to say, and that James Gunn is saying, is that Eternity, which is the first appearance of Strange Tales 138, is Peter Quill's mother, right? And Eternity made her first appearance in the Marvel MCU, and one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So they're saying that Eternity has already been there, and that she might make another appearance in some of the movies going on later on.
Wow. When we
Oh,
talk
my
speculation, that is like the ultimate speculation.
Right.
Speculator.
Wow. Well, that was fun. That's fun. I like that. Johnny, you have something too? Was it like who would win?
So we've done this before on the Definitive Crusade. And no, it's not Jeopardy. Before everybody starts going, oh my God, really? You surprised us. Although I was tempted. It's just a simple game of who would win. You're given two Marvel characters. You tell me which would win, and the reasons why. Dead
Okay.
simple. All right.
Sounds pretty easy.
I'm being kind of nice on this one. I'm not going too abstract on this.
Sounds
right?
objective too.
Yeah, make a good case. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Get your lawyers on. All right. First up is a movie may have been knocked back a bit, but we all love the Black Widow. Versus the super serum welding Mockingbird. There you go. Who would win in a fight? Who would like to go first?
You say super serum wielding Mockingbird?
Does she not have the super serum in there?
No. She's never had the super serum.
Yeah,
She
has.
No, she's just a straight up agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. with.
In the last book, I'm sure she had the super soldier serum. That's what brought her back. Is it not?
Oh, and she was dead?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
but
I'm wrong, it's
I
fine.
don't think she's any more super than she used to be.
All right. Okay. So we'll say Mockingbird then. There you go.
All right. So I would definitely go Black Widow because I would say Red Room training, um, assassin. She's ready to kill. Mockingbird. I don't think she's ever. Well, let's say Mockingbird killed Ghost Rider or Phantom Rider. I'm still gonna go Black Widow because I think Black Widow has the training, the I think she's got the more will to win.
All right. Okay. All right. Lucas, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree on his points in that, when it comes to training of a ex KGB agent, plus Black Widow, she's not just going to go in without studying what the Mockingbird can do and everything before she engages. But if you're talking about in a phone booth, like in an elevator, one on one, they don't have a lot of space to move around. That strength of the Mockingbird is going to come through. She would probably just crush Black Widow.
And here's the other thing, Johnny. Let's say Mockingbird gets lucky and beats Black Widow. Black Widow just comes back as another clone and surprises her as soon as.
See, why would you do that?
Yeah. Hey.
Killing me. It's surprising you don't realize how similar the two are when you look at it.
They're
Both
pretty
have,
similar.
yeah, both are proficient in armed hand-to-hand combat, espionage. There's Mockingbird at gymnastics and martial arts. Both have enhanced strength and agility. Healing halted agent, expert marksman, and mastery of various weapons. So
A lot of black leather.
that's a different podcast, Lucas.
Who says that they both have enhanced strength and agility?
Sorry, I was just going through that.
I don't think either of them do.
No, Mockingbird does. Black Widow doesn't. Black Widow is expert tactician, hand-to-hand combat, secret agent, slowed aging and enhanced immune system, expert marksman, and mastery of other various weapons. If you look at the stat line, Mockingbird should have this, definitely. Honestly, if you read the last Mockingbird series, there is some super soldier in there. So I'm sure
I'm gonna have to go reread it.
I'm sure there is. But hey ho. All right, okay. Secret agents abound. Let's go all Avengers versus Mutant. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
All right. Okay, so one controls the thunder. Of course, we're talking of Thor, the thunder god. The other one is a weather witch, Storm. Who would win in a fight? Who went first last time? Lucas, you can go first.
That is an interesting thing. So I'm gonna have to go with Thor because it's not only just a matter of controlling the weather, it's a matter of being a god throughout. So he can transport from any plane to Earth at any time he wants. I don't think Storm can do that. I think she and her powers are pretty much limited to the Earth. Like,
Okay,
she can't.
well, that's a good point. I would like to counter that it's actually Mjolnir that does that. Thor doesn't. But hey ho, it's cool.
Well, I don't know.
That's like saying Mr. Fantastic can fly when.
Well,
really
I thought recently with him now being the king and god of the Allfather, I thought he was broken out of that.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, I would have thought. Well, he still needs the hammer, doesn't he? So that's the whole thing. Because he's all right. Okay. I'm open for debate. Go for it. Do you agree, Professor?
So I got this scenario going on in my head because I don't think we've ever seen Thor versus Storm power-wise, right? I think I kind of think maybe we had a couple of panels of maybe them kind of Thor throwing the hammer and whatever. But I can see Thor kind of bringing the thunder down and then Storm kind of taking control of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because she can control the weather. I think Thor can just summon it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Thor summons the lightning and the thunder, and the Storm, and then Storm says, "Thank you very much. I can control this now. You just gave me all your power." And then can kind of just either take it out, and she's the weather witch, right? So she could do
Right.
more with the weather than Thor can, right?
Mhm.
So she can create the tornadoes and the wind and everything. I'm not sure Thor can actually do the wind and everything. So if it comes down to a physical confrontation, Thor's got it because Storm doesn't have any enhanced strength or anything. But if it's a pure weather battle, I think Storm is gonna crush it.
Okay. I'm on the fence. I was going to throw in the Iceman just for good measure, but I thought that was just a little bit too
Look,
iffy.
Storm could always kind of use her feminine wiles too.
She's all about the Panther, isn't she? Bless her.
Well, I mean, she didn't used to be.
Right. This one I took from Lucas. Lucas put something in the Twitter chat about leaders. So I thought we'll keep it mutant versus man. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You've got Scott Slim Summers, Cyclops, leader of the X-Men, ex-leader of X Factor, one of the Phoenix Five previously, versus the man with a plan, Captain America. Steve Rogers, Captain America, by the way. Who would win in a fight?
Captain America, 100%. Not even a question.
Really?
Yep.
How?
Willpower and belief and just total the no quit attitude. Cyclops has already proved to us that he can be a quitter.
Yes. Yep.
And
Whoa! Back up. Let me just play devil's advocate on this. Didn't Steve Rogers walk away from being Captain America? Didn't he quit being Captain
no,
America?
so
Not more
hey,
than once.
let's
What?
look at it this way. It was Steve Rogers' inability to go back on his values and support a government that wasn't supporting him. So that's not Captain America walked away from being Captain America because of his beliefs. So he
I'm not
still
talking about,
didn't back
I'm not
down.
talking about Civil War. I'm talking about back when he changed from being Nomad.
Yeah, he quit because
Okay.
he uncovered that Richard Nixon was the leader of the secret empire. So he couldn't serve that government anymore. So I mean,
Busted Richard
he did
Nixon.
what any of us would have done. And Captain America has the perfect defense against Cyclops' eye blast is the shield. So
Okay.
yep,
Fine.
Captain
Okay.
America 100% all the way, and tactically too. Tactically, strategically he would have a plan for Cyclops and be able to neutralize him fairly quickly, I think.
Okay. Lucas, what do you think? Are you still there, Lucas?
There you go. So this is one of those. This is one of those in the phone booth. If they were both trapped in a phone booth, I think that Captain America takes it. But if you give Scott Summers enough distance, he would mow Captain America down. This is a
Good call.
guy. Yeah, this is a guy that went up against Thanos. That's going up against Thanos. He's going up against Mr. Sinister. Um, he's going up against all parts of the X-Men at some points. Um, when it really comes down to Apocalypse, you can just go down a list of all powerful mutants and all powerful gods that he's had to go up against, and either just held his own or defeated. Scott Summers takes it. I mean, he's had to go up against Wolverine, at sometimes.
So is
Um, and
Captain
then
America.
and then
Nah.
and then if Scott Summers dies, this goes back to the point you made about freaking Black Widow. If Scott Summers dies, he's just gonna come back. He's just gonna come back. His clone is just gonna come back. You know.
I think just to throw some kind of nods in there. I remember back when Claremont and Byrne, an arcade world, and Scott Summers was in the pinball machine. You fired one blast, and he used to bounce off all the different things to get to his target. Now, I'm all for Captain America having his shield, But Cyclops would be able to bounce his beam off a shield, off a lamppost, off something else, and hit him in the ass. That's
This
how
is a
good
great
he is.
this is a great visual, right? So we have Cyclops fire his eye beam that bounces all around, while Cap throws his shield that bounces all around.
And then the two
And then
never
they
meet.
doesn't that's a why hasn't anybody drawn that? That would be perfect. But you're not gonna sway my argument, man. Captain America gets Scott every single time. And let's not forget Cap went toe to toe with Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet on as well. So
Okay. Right. Last one. One of my personal favourites. First appearance was back in Fantastic Four number 35. Got man in his title. Not really a man. It is, of course, the android Dragon Man versus Aaron Stack, Machine Man himself. There you go.
Ooh.
Good old X-51. Who would win in a fight?
that's kind of a stumper here.
Two androids. Mano a mano.
Is it the current version of Dragon Man or the original version of Dragon Man?
I'm going original.
In that case, I would go Machine Man.
Because
Because Machine Man is more intelligent and would be able to figure out a way to beat Dragon Man, whereas Dragon Man wasn't intelligent, or he was just kind of like a monstrosity android type crush you kind of thing. But he also didn't want to hurt anybody, right? Because even Dragon Man's first appearance, he became docile after Diablo was done with him.
Yeah.
But Machine Man, I think Machine Man would figure out a way to beat him, and Dragon Man would just kind of be like a force of nature and allow himself to be beat.
You know that Dragon Man can never get tired, right? Because he's imbued with magic, so he just keep going.
So Machine Man would break down eventually, need oil. What do you?
Yeah, maybe his batteries. It's like he's out of signal, man. His batteries died.
Wow.
Just say it. Just as a thought. Not giving any answers away.
I don't know. I think Machine Man's got it. What do you think, Lucas?
I mean, I think in terms of brutality, I'm gonna have to give it to Dragon Man. This is a guy that's beating up on Captain America. He's beating up on Spider-Man. He's faced down Ben Grimm, so I'm gonna have to give it to Dragon Man. Just on, if we had to need to go to war and beat down somebody, I'm gonna pick Dragon Man versus wimpy Mr. Machine Man. Sorry.
All I could see is Dragon Man getting Machine Man in his grip and trying to rip his arm off and pulling it like Inspector Gadget, just like zip, and like not knowing what to do with it after that.
Great imagery. So there you go. You've got Shields and Ruby Blasts not hitting each other. What more can you want from a fight? Perfect. Good call.
All right. So that's gonna do it for this episode of No Prize, and next episode will be that much closer to actual comics. So yeah, can't wait. All right, so we will see you again in 2 weeks, and hopefully the world will be back open and back to work, and we'll see you then.
All right.
Adios.
Bye.